Hi, in this CBT techniques video, we're going to be covering the assigning probabilities technique. Now, this technique is used in conjunction with the vertical descent technique, and I have another video describing that one, where basically what you're trying to do here is step one is you're using the vertical descent technique to try and outline the different levels and depth of the problem, where you're really digging deep with whatever is plaguing the client to try and get at the bedrock of what the fundamental issue is. You know, what are these automatic thoughts sitting on ultimately? And CBT, this is referred to as a schema. So you're going to be asking questions like, say a client's coming in with say problems with his wife. The client feels really hurt by his wife and the things that she says and does to him. And so you'd want to ask things like, well, what does it mean she calls you an idiot? How do you feel when she calls you an idiot? What would be the worst part of her calling you an idiot? And you're really, the point here is not so much the exact questions that I'm listing off here, but more you're really trying to push past these superficial descriptions that clients come in with to get at something more meaty, something more primal that that would reflect a basic belief about themselves, to the point where you'd want to hit something like, in a case like that, a fear of not being loved, a fear of being horrible, a fear of being alone forever. Something like that really is straightforward, it's simple, but like I said, it's primal. It's got a lot of meat to it. So after you've gone through the vertical descent technique, what you're going to want to do in assigning probabilities with this technique is you're going to want to double back and you're going to want to set up percentages and likelihoods to each step in that vertical descent. A basic problem when people are coming in with anxiety and depression is that they have a lot of all or nothing thinking. Things are very black and white. So at every step of the way with those questions that you were able to get through with your client, you're going to want to assign a probability, a likelihood. And what will end up happening is your client's going to start by assigning probabilities. Well, maybe if there's a 2% likelihood that my wife thinks I'm an idiot, maybe there's a 10% likelihood that she'll leave me. Well, what you're left with is 98% likelihoods in the opposite direction, 90% likelihoods in the opposite direction. She doesn't really think I'm an idiot, chances are, and chances are she's not going to leave me. And so you're opening up the ability to discriminate and have basic, really bring in more possibilities in a person's life that can take the edge off of anxiety and depression and go a long way in solving those emotional problems. Possible problems with this technique are, number one, you're going to be hitting a common psychological phenomena of people being far more averse sensitive than they are to being sensitive to positive aspects in their life. And that's a big one. We overestimate the negativity in our lives. And so when you're trying to set up with your client likelihoods and percentages, you're going to have to slip in there this idea as a sort of, well, now that we're aware that, people are 5 times more likely to hike up their negative thoughts and beliefs, well, what if we tone this down a little bit to try and be more realistic? That would be one possible solution. Another problem that pops up with this technique is simply not going far enough in your vertical descent. A third problem that pops up here could be something as simple as, you're making this list and there might be a lot of things that seem ridiculous and the client might even be reticent to put all labels like, well, does she really hate me? Nah, she doesn't hate me. Now on the surface of it, that sounds great. But again, that's black and white thinking. It's not helpful in either direction to think that a person's wife hates them or completely loves them. Chances are, people being people, there's going to be some hate there. There's hopefully going to be a lot more love. But we don't want to remain this black and white thinking. And again, from a clinical standpoint, that's really the target problem. It's not so much that it's the symptoms that are the problem, the underlying issue, but it's this pattern of thinking which is the problem. So even when it's to your advantage, when a person is thinking in a black and white way positively, it's worth challenging that and still sticking with it and assigning values and percentages to each thought. I hope this video was helpful. If you found it useful, go ahead and give it a like or share it with your friends. If you want to leave me a message, you can do so in the comment box or check out my website and shoot me an email. If you like my work, I'd really appreciate it if you could check my Patreon account out and support me in the work I'm doing here. I'll see you in the next video.